Hello, and greetings to another episode of Being Healthy, the Shaolin Way. In today's episode, we're going to discuss forms. At first glance, classic forms do not appear to be an objective approach to the practice and development of fighting ability. Martially, the first thing that hits you as you start watching the performance of a classic form is that the stance is not conducive to defense against punches and kicks. The back is held straight, exposing the front of the torso. The chin is held up, exposing not only the chin but also the nose and eyes. The torso is almost always held square to the direction one faces, which very effectively exposes the abdomen and chest. Since the body's weight tends to be held forward, it will take more time to move backwards when that movement is called for. The back leg is held too straight for efficient mobility. The front foot and knee point straight forward, exposing the groin. The back fist is many times held in the hip, the wrong place for it if one wishes to defend against any kind of an attack. According to basic learning theory, one must duplicate as closely as possible the activity that is being learned. But in most forms practice, there's no partner to interact with. Without a partner, you cannot learn to obtain range through techniques or learn to defend against anything. Combat obviously involves at least two people. Don't give up on forms practice yet, though. This will make perfect sense once the reasons are explained. There are two reasons for the illogical stance in classic forms. The first involves responsibility on the part of the teacher to teach fighting skills only to people who are worthy of the true instruction. There is a moral problem with teaching fighting skills to those that would use them for inappropriate purposes. Traditionally, forms training was the primary method of teaching the arts, so the beginning students were not really taught to fight until they had proven themselves. Since this stance is ridiculous for fighting purposes, people of dubious moral character would not have the patience or trust required to obtain long-term results. But even though the training looks worthless at first glance, the new students are being taught the fundamentals of martial movement and the prerequisite abilities needed to efficiently achieve martial perfection. Those whose personalities have evolved appropriately find that the most effective teaching techniques and fighting strategies are hidden within the forms to the extent that they could only be discovered when the form is mastered, which takes at least many months of practice. The precise placement, I've got to say that sometimes learning the forms takes actually years. For example, the Tai Chi 108 takes years to learn. But the precise placement and movement of the appendages and postures teach precision of movement, discipline, discrimination, and proprioceptive awareness, the ability to know exactly where one's body parts are without looking at them. That's proprioceptive. Now, these abilities are required to achieve maximum efficiency and martial ability. Body mobility from one place to another develops precision of body movement, another ability required for maximum efficiency and martial movement. Once the forms are mastered, the practice of forms will further develop martial abilities and requires such as precision of movement, timing, strength, coordination, balance, mobility, proprioceptive ability, agility, speed, flexibility, and harmony. Even though at first glance, prearranged sequences of movement seems unlikely that they could not possibly teach spontaneity of movement, they in effect do. Bruce Lee made a big issue out of the fact that the practice of prearranged techniques did not replicate the spontaneity of combat. For this reason, and he advised against the practice of forms. But apparently Bruce lacked the patience required to discover the awesome benefits that can be obtained from this practice. The movements of the sequences are committed to memory and performed without any forebrain activity, without telling yourself to move this way or that. This is called Wu Xin in Chinese and translates to as no-mindedness. It is sometimes referred to as the Zen mind and described as the ability to think without thinking. Wu Xin is required for efficient self-defense ability and any creative act, thought, or movement. It is an essential component of the ability to mentally be in the moment enough to spontaneously respond appropriately to an attack in any situation or circumstance. It is also a component of any intuitive experience, which is a huge advantage in a combat situation. Wu Xin and intuition are also a requirement for true meditation. A scheduled routine of forms practice will develop mental abilities that can make one more efficient at whatever he or she does. The emphasis in the Ba Shi Ba form, in other words, the 88, which is a Tai Chi form, is definitely martial. It is a combat form. In this form, the balance of yin and yang is exercised and developed in every block and encounter within the form, which is about 88 times and includes all the fighting strategies in the Tai Chi martial system. The thoroughness of this form makes it literally one of a kind. Forms have value as a catalog of techniques and fighting strategies of a fighting style, although the techniques as performed in the classic forms are not intended to be used in a real self-defense application. However, woven into the sequence of movement within the classic forms are advanced fighting strategies and techniques, making each of them a textbook of martial information. The forms are catalogs of fighting strategies and techniques that continue to make available to us this information that may otherwise have been forgotten. Now, there are many, many hours when one can practice, but does not have a partner available. Forms practice is available for these times. But in addition to this reason for forms training, forms have training value of their own, unfillable to the beginner. Now, that's all for today's Being Healthy the Shaolin Way. And I encourage you to visit us at ShaolinTempleUS.org or come to healthyshaolin.com. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, namaste.